Yo,
What's up? What's up? Happy
welcome
Friday.
back to the number one training podcast in the world,
Okay. Well,
Operation
not
Hustle.
yet.
No, for real. If I keep saying it, though, it might happen.
Okay.
That's right.
Claim
Let's
it.
go.
Receive it. All right. I like
So we are going to talk about time management today and perspective. What do you guys think about this? Do you like
Yeah,
it? Do
I'm
you
ready
not?
for the quote.
If you do or you don't, I don't care because we don't talk about it anyway.
All right. What's the quote? 'Cause I
All
got
right.
a quote
So you either run your day or it runs you.
too. Like
Period.
it?
That's it. So if you have your shit together and you manage your time well, you will run your day. If you don't manage that time well, it will run you to the fucking ground.
What is the cure for stress? Change your attitude and perspective. So one of the things that I started thinking about with time management is a lot of people are like, well, I don't have time for that. So maybe the whole reason why you're having trouble managing your time is actually because you need to sit down and change your perspective and your attitude about your schedule or about your, time management. And maybe think about, how can I better manage this time? Or am I not utilizing this time in the best way? But maybe it's more of a perspective and attitude problem first, and then managing the time from there will become easier.
Yeah. So here's a perspective for you. This is the one thing that we're actually all given evenly ever is time, right? We all get that 24 hours, no matter if you're rich, poor, broke, whatever you are. You all get the 24 hours. So, like someone successful, like Dwayne Johnson, that man makes it to the gym before he shoots his movies, does a bunch of crazy shit, and gets his shit done. And he is way more busy than all of us. And he still finds that time for the gym. Is he rich and can he pay someone to like bring his gym equipment everywhere he goes? Yes. But he's made that work for him and he's managed his time so it will work for him.
Well, this was actually a perfect thing to talk about because Justin said he had already had these. We started to, really think about how time management could be a problem for some people and how you can kind of like compartmentalize and really work on that schedule if that is a problem for you. But it actually got brought up again. We were at the gym earlier and one of Caitlin's clients was there and they had said that they felt like they were slacking off. And they were doing extra cardio before and they had stopped and that became a problem. And, they just said, oh, we just, I don't have time. And so Justin was like, well, man, do you have a treadmill at home? No. And he was like, well, if you had a treadmill at home, you could get on that treadmill and do that Zoom call at the same time. And so you're utilizing that time better. And then he was like, that's a great idea because I don't necessarily need to get a treadmill. I guess I could just go to the gym and walk on that treadmill and do the Zoom call at the same time. So boom.
Yeah. Or
right?
you can go outside. I mean, there's plenty of
Yeah.
options, especially like a lot of you guys work from home now. And I mean, I don't know if it's
They
like
have
a
little, like-
against policy to like work out while you're working.
They have those little like pedal bikes that you can even put underneath your desk.
Yeah.
You can make sure you're sitting on a stability ball. So you're working your core and working on just, strengthening that on your lower back if that's an issue for you. So you are doing something while you're sitting there at that desk. Get up maybe once an hour and do 20 jumping jacks. So you're moving. But, we can utilize our time. Again, it's just sitting down and changing your perspective and your attitude about it. Is it my attitude that I don't feel like doing those 20 jumping jacks during that every hour? Is it my perspective? Am I, finding myself in like a victim mentality of like, oh, nobody understands how busy I am? Because we get that a lot. And it's like, if there's anybody that would understand, it's Justin and I. I mean, we're so busy ourselves, but you have to find the time. And I had made a video earlier this week about how people talk about how they don't have time to cook. And I understand that it gets difficult to do that with a busy schedule. But it's about how do you utilize your time in the morning or at night and those times before you leave the house for work. So, it was like, I want to say like Monday that I had made this video on Instagram and like we were at home. It was like almost 9:30 at night and Justin was shampooing the carpets and I was making food. And I was like, listen, I knew I had to get done. I was making the peppers. I was like, that way I have it prepared to put on top of the fish and the rice. And I already had it going. And I said, sure, I could go in bed and watch Netflix and just relax, but is that Netflix going to benefit me? So if I watch the Netflix, what is the consequences of that? And again, it's perspective and it's attitude. If I watch the Netflix for an hour, now tomorrow I'll have no lunch, no dinner, I'll be starving. What are the chances of me just going to Chick-fil-A, right next to my job to get a salad with, grilled chicken because I didn't prep my own food? And we all know that that chicken is super salty. It's not the best for you. Even their salads are not the healthiest.
And
you
it's
know?
hard to choose the salad when you're in that line.
Right, that too. So it's just,
Very.
again, it's the perspective of I could be watching Netflix and relaxing, but is that going to really benefit me right now? Because then tomorrow my whole day will be thrown off. So, Alejandro, do you have anything to speak on this?
As far as,
Do you have any clients that struggle with this and talk to you about it? What are some maybe patterns of things that you hear over and over?
Yeah, as far as time management goes, there are just things in your life that are going to be worthwhile. And, as far as attitude and perspective go, interlacing into that, those are some things that you're going to have to develop and come to understand, especially whenever it comes to your health and fitness. Health and fitness is directly correlated to what I truly value, which is time. So if you value your time, you'll figure out that your health and fitness are directly correlated to not just how much time you have, but also to the quality of time. So you've got to take a quantitative and a qualitative measure of what things you actually value in life. Some people value that party lifestyle, where they'll go out, get hammered and smoke till it's fucking 5 a.m. And you know what? That's how they choose to live their life. Either they want to burn it fast and bright. So, they're going to die a little earlier. That's okay. It's a trade-off. So you find your own balances. And for some people, they want to live healthy, effective, efficient lives. So, I am personally a fan of the latter, but overall, it's about what you value.
Yeah, I agree. I think time is the most valuable thing in the world. If you think about it, the time is money quote. It's true. You trade your time for money, but if you use your time well enough and you invest your time into certain areas, you can make more money with your time. Hence, like a degree in a certain area, or advancing like us with trainers, we can get new certifications, which will qualify us to make more money and things like that. So like things that you invest your time in can change the money that you make in that time, which is pretty cool. And time you can't get back. So that's another thing. Once you spend that time, you'll never get it back no matter what. And no one knows how long of a time you actually have. I mean, my day could be tomorrow. We just seen a guy last night got smacked on a motorcycle. That might be his last day, and he wasn't expecting it. And who knows what he was doing, before that. And luckily I sold my motorcycle, so we shouldn't have that problem with me. But you just never know when your day is going to be. So invest your time into things that are going to make a difference in your life, which will make you happy, hopefully, in the long run.
So what type of, advice do you have for them on like time management or perspective, or things that might help our clients maybe manage their time better if this is an issue for them currently?
Client-wise, when it comes down to meal prepping, because a lot of people have problems with meal prepping. They say it takes so much damn time. Calculate how many hours you're meal prepping for, and do the math on how much money you make per hour. So maybe you can hire someone to cook that food and actually work an extra hour a week. And now you don't have to worry about the 3 hours that you wasted, and you only needed 1 hour to basically get that 3 hours of work done by someone else, and you just pay.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that I touched on in the video. You just made me remember exactly what I was talking about in the video, was that if you can afford to hire somebody to make the food for you, awesome, love that, then hire somebody to do it. But if you're not in a position where you can hire somebody to do that, and maybe that's a goal of yours, like, hey, I don't really truly enjoy cooking, I'd like to maybe pick up, I'm just giving you an example. I'm going to pick up a DoorDash job, or I'm going to pick up a Shipt job, once a week, because I actually like getting out. I don't mind shopping. It's mindless for me. I kind of find relaxation in it, and I can make money at the same time. But I really don't like cooking. Boom! I just found the problem. Make the extra money doing something that actually is mindless and helps you relax, and then you make money for that doing that, and then somebody can cook the food for you because you don't really enjoy cooking the food. But if you're not in a position in which you can put that in your budget, then either you find a way to put it in your budget if it's really something you hate doing, or you pick couple recipes. Don't stress yourself out. And you might have to repeat those recipes all week long.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
That's
Because
how-
sometimes I think
say
my
never.
problem I see with a lot of clients is that they get stressed out because they want to make everything like, different, recipes every single day. They want to keep things different. It's like, okay, but the reality of it is before you started this diet, you really weren't keeping it that, varied anyway. You were just going out and getting fast food, or you were doing this or you were doing that, but pick maybe a couple recipes that don't stress you out as much. And then maybe, let's say, I'm giving an example, maybe you're doing Greek yogurt as a snack, and instead of changing that snack, you keep Greek yogurt all week long, but maybe you just put different toppings in it. So maybe you put sliced almonds in it one day, the next day you put a drizzle of honey, maybe you put some Keiko nibs in it, maybe you put some unsweetened, coconut little pieces in it, whatever it may be, but you switch up the topping so it feels different, but you keep it the same throughout the week. It's the Greek yogurt as a snack.
It's simple.
Right. So it's simple, and it kind of
Yeah.
simplifies that stress factor in the wanting to prep everything and make different recipes for every single day, because that does get stressful. So that's just like a little tip I have on how to make that process a little bit less overwhelming. I know that Alejandra likes to cook. So maybe you have some tips on this as well.
Sandwiches, salads, wraps, and tacos are all the same shit, just in different variations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much
So-
like what I just said with the yogurt. You know what I
What'd you
mean?
say with the
You
yogurt?
could just keep the yogurt the same all week long, but then just put different toppings. You know what I mean? So it
Mhm.
is the same, but
same
you're
thing.
just putting different things
You're
in it.
changing the wrap to a
Yeah.
piece of bread, or a piece of bread to a wrap, or whatever the hell else you said, a pita bread, whatever the heck
Yep.
it is.
So your
Um,
variation can be simple and effective.
Yeah. So I think I've simplified our cooking, or we have, so the store sells shit in a bag now that you can microwave, like rice. So now you don't have to boil the water. You don't have to really do anything but crack the bag open. It takes 60 to 90 seconds to make the rice. While I'm making the rice, I am making the protein, whether it's in the air fryer or on a frying pan.
The Farm and Grill.
It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to make most proteins. So between the two, it's 16 minutes, and then another 5 minutes for a veggie in the microwave. Is it the best way? No, but it is the fastest way. And those little cups are a little more expensive, but I will pay the extra expense for the time.
Right.
And
so
that's where I kind of said, weigh out your time and your
Right.
money and see what
you're
makes
trading
sense.
off,
Yeah.
and then too, I'm a fan of like little machines, like the George Foreman grill. I have a little egg maker because again, it's just the boiling the water and watching it, right? Then like I can utilize my time. Maybe I'm at the kitchen table making a meal plan while this is like going in this little machine. But Dash, it's called the Dash is the brand Dash. They have like a little ice cream maker. You can make Greek yogurt in there and create frozen yogurt in there. They have an egg maker. So I have the egg maker and I put I think it maybe holds 6 to 8 eggs. But it will literally sing when it's done. So I don't even have to like keep checking to make sure the eggs, are boiling correctly and they've been in there long enough. Like it tells me when it's done.
It kind of smells though. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Well, anyways, you don't like eggs. So that's your opinion on that.
I
But-
like eggs when they're cooked correctly.
Okay. Anyway, so I'm a fan of like things that, kind of make things easier, make that process a little bit just smoother.
Yeah.
And again, where maybe I'm not having to check on it as often. So that's just a tip in the sense of meal prepping. When it comes to, I think another thing too is people will be like, well, I don't have enough time for myself, or I don't have enough time for my partner. Or like I'm running around. The biggest thing too is parents, right? Like they'll come in and they'll be like, well, I'm always running around from, this game to that game, or this or that, for my kid. And they're trying to figure out where they can find time for themselves in that. Again, it's just about sitting down and looking at perspective and attitude and figuring out like, okay, is there anything in this schedule that can budge? Is there maybe instead of you driving your kid to school every single day, can I come up with a carpool with maybe a couple of the other moms, and maybe so I'm not driving every single day. I might have to go pick an extra kid up on one of those days and make that sacrifice. But hey, that other morning, now I can utilize that morning doing something else, whether it be maybe you have an hour before work, both you and your husband. And so now that's time for both you and your husband. Maybe it's just an hour for you. Maybe you take that time, you go for a walk and you just take that time listening to your favorite music, whatever it may be. But you know what I mean? Think about how you can sit down and make that schedule not as rigid.
Yeah. We do this with food too. I think this would be a good tip for everyone. Usually like when someone's really struggling with a meal plan, I usually tell them to write down everything they put in their mouth, literally the entire week: food, drink, Maybe not some other things, but
Right. Okay.
when
We're
it
gonna
comes to
keep our heads out of
food
the gutter.
and water and anything that has to do with, eating, write that down, every single thing that you eat or drink for 1 week. So if you do the same thing with your time, maybe write out your whole week and manage, like write down, hey, at 1 o'clock on Monday, I did this. At 2 o'clock, and hourly break it down. And at the end of the week, take all that bullshit. You'll know what's bullshit. Netflix, I did this, I did that, stupid shit. Cross it off. That is all your extra time you have to work with. Then you can categorize it and use it for something good instead of wasting it. And that way you're just aware of it. Like, man, I really spent 6 hours watching fucking Netflix. That was stupid. And then the next week you can get better and better. I'm not saying cut it all out at once, but like, hey, maybe I can use an extra hour instead of the 6 hours. Then I'll do 5 hours of waste instead of 6, and keep weaning yourself off of that. And more of your time will be used for progress other than like stupid.
Or maybe
bullshit.
it's something as simple. I just thought of another problem like parents might have. Maybe it's something like you find yourself every single morning you're stressed out and you have no time to prep food, or you have no time to, I don't know, maybe do your hair the way you would like, and having your hair done the way you'd like that morning really just makes your day, either you feel more confident, you like the way your hair looks, you feel better about yourself. Okay, we need to free up that time. So every morning you're doing the dishes, you like really sit down and look at the whole picture. Okay, could my kids be helping me with the dishes? Do they have chores? If they don't have chores, maybe it's time for you to start putting that boundary down. Time for you to say, like, listen, we need to create a program here. And whether you're one of those parents, you think an incentive program might be great for them, or whether or not you just have always, had, chores and expectations for them. And then you say, hey, this is another thing we need to, come together as a family and figure out. It's too much on mom. Mom needs some time, or dad needs some time in the morning. How can we configure this together? But that too, because like so many parents are wearing so many different hats. And I think sometimes we forget that if you do have kids too, they need responsibilities too. It's important that they figure out, how to be responsible at a really young age. And I think that's something that me, Justin, and Alejandro have talked about plenty of times, like that, our parents, we're grateful that our parents had taught us that at a young age, is that responsibility. And I was just talking about this on the way here to Justin, is that like, I remember when my sister and I went to our dad and we were like looking to get allowance, and he was like, why would I give you an allowance to do something that you're already expected to do for no allowance? And I was like, oh, well, now my whole argument I had, or like, I guess, this whole thing I was going to say to persuade our dad to get him to give us an allowance is like now out the window. But as an adult, when you start to get older, more mature, your perspective changes, then you're like, I understand that. We needed to have that responsibility. So that we could figure out how to be successful adults.
Yeah. Which I think they should start teaching that shit in school. Like they don't, from what I know and see, I don't have a kid, so I can't really speak too much on it, but like they don't have any classes on like life.
They used to have like home ec, and I don't really know if they're still doing that.
They had that, and we had it, but they didn't teach you anything but how to cook like an apple pie, which is pointless.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that too. Is like, I wish
maybe like do your fucking laundry class, or like wash your ass class.
Okay, well,
like,
that you should already know.
There's stinky people all around this country.
Listen, I think the laundry thing is a great idea, but if we had like a class for kids, and while you're in high school or maybe even middle school, gosh, like they should be learning this stuff in middle school.
Yeah.
A class on like how to manage your money. Because that's like something a lot of people struggle with, and a lot of parents are, busy. They wear many different hats, and so that's not something they think about teaching their kids. Financial responsibility. You know what I mean? Time management. So if your time's not managed, how are your kids? You need to model everything. So then they'll grow up and they won't know how to manage time. Or if, you're not teaching them how to be financially responsible, you haven't had them set up a bank account, then why would you expect them to be financially responsible even at like 18, 19, 20, early 20s? Like they didn't learn anything when they were younger.
Unfortunately, school teaches you how to go into debt. Because as soon as you're done with high school, they're like, go to college, pay that tuition, get that degree, and make $12 an hour when you get out, and you can never pay it back. So like, it's a business. Yes, it's beneficial. But if you don't know what you're going to go to school for, this is where time management comes in. Don't waste your money.
Don't waste your time.
Invest your time into something that's going to actually make you money. Now, I'm not saying go get a job at McDonald's and make that your career, unless that's what you want to do. But
But here's the other thing. If you want to go to school,
can
I
make
think
it.
his point is that's great, but maybe you don't feel the need that you have to go to school as soon as you graduate if you don't know what you want to do. Because again, you know what I mean? Then you're just wasting time and money.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, a lot of us go to school and then we change our minds. And, I had decided I think it was like the, end of my junior year, I was like, I don't want to do social work. But it was too late. Like I was already I knew my scholarship wouldn't pay for anything more than the 4 years. And I was like, so if I change now, I have to stay, and then I will have to now cover this tuition. Now I'll be in a lot more debt, and this and that. And so I just finished it out. But it's like, could I have done a different degree? Sure. But it's again that time management and perspective and that attitude. And it should have been one of those things where I really sat down, maybe even shadowed some people, or maybe, found some people that I knew that were doing that job and interviewed them and asked them the hard questions and the hard truths. And I knew once I had went through a specific class, like, hey, I'm just not the type of person I can turn that emotion off to do this job.
Well, I think too, also, like when you get out of school, you're 17, 18 years old, you're not fully developed. You really don't know anything. They taught you how to write a couple words in English. Great. Write a paragraph. Cool. But like, you really don't know what is actually going on in the world. And you don't really know like how the real life works. When you start paying for toothpaste and toilet paper and things you never really had to
one
pay
of my
for,
clients, and
you start to realize real quick how fucking expensive everything
you
is.
could probably explain it better just because I really don't remember exactly how she said she does it. But one of my clients had her son, I think it was at like literally 12, maybe even 13 years old, had him managing the money for the groceries, right?
Well, the groceries and then like the electric bill, she told us.
That's right. So he was paying it up, and his job was, yes, he had the bill in front of him.
It wasn't his money, but he was responsible for paying for it.
So if it was higher, he needed to call and figure that out. So
and if he didn't, the family suffers. So he had a consequence. Like, dude, if you don't get on shit, like point with this shit, like the whole family will suffer.
And she would sit down and show him, if you don't take care of this, now the higher electricity bill, that I want you to sit down and call Tico and figure out why it's higher, the higher water bill. Now that's going to get pulled from there. And now that means less money towards groceries. So if you wanted that treat, forget it. We can't get that treat.
Yeah, she made him budget for the entire year, which is
worth of groceries. I mean, it's crazy, but at the same time, I mean, he really got
smart.
Perspective when he did that. And I remember she had said it and she was laughing because she goes, oh my gosh, I don't know what I created. I created a monster. She wanted something from the store. And he was like, we don't have money for that, Mom.
That's right.
And he's literally saying this out loud while they're in the line. And she's like, shush, you're making it seem like we're poor and we're all right. We're doing okay for ourselves. But he was thinking about the family as a whole, and his whole perspective changed. Like, okay, well, if you get that one expensive thing, like now we're going to have to eat ramen, which was a little exaggerated. But she's like, I mean, I love that his mindset had changed and started thinking about how we can manage the money and how that's going to affect, maybe another bill or maybe the rest of the year or a meal or a recipe that we were going to make. You know what I mean? If we get all those things for that one recipe, now we probably won't be able to get the rest of the things for the next recipe. So I think that was really important. There's just not enough parents out there doing that. I think
school needs to do this.
Yeah,
this is the problem. Too. Like, because you're a parent, you go to work, you're forced to go to work because you need to pay those bills. Now you don't have all the time to teach your kids, so you have to send them somewhere like school where they teach them shapes and dumb shit. Like, teach them how to live. And I think not the world, at least America, if they would change it here, people would function a lot better. I think there would be less fucking homeless people. You would learn how to take care of shit.
Well, too, I think that they need to start teaching kids about addiction. That as well. So it's just like, I mean, this went from like the topic of time management perspective, but again, it's still perspective. You know what I mean? If we started teaching kids in school about, addiction, financial responsibility, time management. Ooh.
Oh, the slime.
Party foul. But if we started teaching them about all these things, would they be more successful adults? Would we have less entitled kids? And I mean, who knows? I mean, all I know is that this one kid, my client's kid, is a lot more responsible from that one experience. And so she has another son who's a couple years behind him. And she said, and right when he turns about 13, he'll be doing the same thing. And so
it makes the most sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I really like that she did that. It was the only time.
I'm gonna steal her tactics when
and
I have
have trained tons of people. I've ever heard somebody do that.
Yeah,
ever.
It is a really good tip. Like I said, I don't have kids, but I will definitely use that shit on my kids.
Yeah. Or, when your kid gets it for a job. So, Here's another thing that my dad had did with me. So once I got a job, we went and got a bank account together, and he got me a checkbook, and we went and went through all of that and how I budget my money, and was like, listen, you get this much for yourself to spend, and then the rest is gonna go in the bank account. And he didn't just say, okay, I want you to go to the bank account. We went together. So it was a bonding experience, but also it was I'm watching you physically put this money into the account.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not just saying, oh, I did it, dad. And then I'm just like blowing all the money. And then, you have so many people who aren't doing that with their kids. And then they're surprised when their kids are in their early or late 20s and they're like, oh my gosh, mom, dad, I'm in financial trouble right now. I need your help. I have credit card debt. I'm paying, all this money on this credit card, or, I've opened up this loan or this or that. Because you didn't teach them the ways. They don't know if you don't teach them.
Yeah.
If you don't give them that model, that role model to follow, and you're not doing it, or you don't do it with them, like how would they know?
Credit cards are needed though, so don't get a credit card, because I did that for a long time, and all I had was a debit card. So
I'm pretty sure I'm the person that convinced you to
yeah,
get a
she's
credit
like,
card.
why don't you have a fucking credit card? I was like, yo, because I just spend the money I have. But the credit cards do have benefits, but they also have downfalls. Like,
Well, if you're not
percentages
teaching your
that you
kids
have
how to
pay
use them, then they
and
don't
interest.
understand. They get wrapped up with these credit card companies that are like interest free for a year.
Well, it's not even that. They give them this big amount. They're like, oh, you're cleared for $3,000, and then they spend it, but they don't have the fucking money to pay for it. So
Right.
that's really dumb. My advice for you would be to anything that you buy on that credit card, make sure you already have the money for it, and you transfer that shit as soon as you fucking pay for it. You get your
Well,
points.
you shouldn't be
get your
using
reward
more than
points.
30%, on those credit cards.
I understand, but you
And then
wanna
it's like
pay it
they'll
off.
rack up multiple credit cards too. So it's perspective, sitting down, looking at all these things, time management, making sure that you're making those payments on time. Am I late on these payments? That type
Yeah.
of stuff. So, time management and perspective goes into a lot of different things and areas in our life. And I think that if this is something that you struggle with, really sit down today or later, sometime this week, and start to think about, is this something I struggle with? Am I unhappy right now in something, that I'm doing? Am I unhappy because I'm not getting the time I need to prep my food? And again, am I making it a priority? Well, I'm not currently, but how can I make that a priority?
Yeah.
What can I move around? Can I get that carpool going? So if you didn't think of that as an idea, maybe that's something you think of. Can I get a carpool going? Maybe to
Yeah.
one of these sports events. Do
You
I
take
always
my
have to
kid
drop
this
them?
week, I take yours next week, and the circle continues. That way we're not all wasting our time driving.
Because some of the times those
separately all the
games
time.
don't start right away, and so you're dropping them off an hour or 2 hours before. And I understand you want to come and watch the game. Like if you're that supportive parent, love it. But maybe that hour or two will give you time to maybe cook dinner or get something you need to get done, and then you can meet them there if you had that carpool going, right? So again, it's always thinking about how can I leverage this time? Am I working smarter, not harder?
And sometimes you can't control the traffic. That's one of those things you can't control, but you can control what you're doing in the traffic. So like I've always said, when I'm in the car and I'm bored, or I have enough time to listen to something like that's going to basically make my mind grow, a good podcast, something where I can learn, I'm putting that on, and I'm taking mental notes because I'm not really trying to be on my phone in the car. But I'm at least using it as a learning experience instead of just like wasted time on some stupid ass Drake song for hours. So it's just another way to kind of multitask and change your perspective. Like, man, I hate traffic. Instead, I love traffic because now I'm learning for 30 extra minutes that I didn't have. And I wasn't learning shit. I was just driving home and being angry. So take your perspective and switch it, and you will look at things
I
differently.
like that. I guess I didn't think of that. Like the traffic created the time for you to learn.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't have it. Now it created it. And
Use
maybe
it for
that's the way-
something good.
Again, change that perspective, change that attitude. I could be upset right now in the car, or I could do this.
So I was listening to Brad Lee. This was a cool perspective. So he had, it was just a thing. 2 kids are in 2 separate rooms. They're filled to the brim with horse shit. Okay. One
Ugh.
kid is in there. He's like, oh, this is terrible. This is the worst thing ever. The other kid was like looking around. He's like, man, there's got to be a horse in here somewhere. And it was all perspective. The one kid was like, oh, there's a reason for this shit. This is cool. I need to find that horse. The other kid was like, this is disgusting. I know it's something gross and stupid, but it makes sense. One of the kids was positive, and he's like, man, there's something cool in here. And the other kid was like, this is a fucking room full of shit. Perspective.
So did he do this experiment, or this?
It was just
already
a thing that he talked about. It was just kind of like break it down and like really make it real for you. Like this kid literally made shit into something. Oh, that's cool. And the other kid was like, oh, this is garbage. Just like the traffic thing. I hate traffic. Instead, I'm like, yo, let's go. I'm going to put that podcast on. I'm going to learn something.
Love it.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
No.
That's it, baby.
I
We're
think
gonna
that
wrap
was a good thing to
it
wrap up with the
up.
experiment. Love it. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
so if you're ever
Happy
stuck
Friday.
in a room full of shit, look for the horse, baby, because he's
All
in there
right.
somewhere.
Look for the miniature horse.
There you go.
All right, guys. So if you don't follow us on any of our social media accounts, please follow us, like, share, subscribe,
to
comment.
the channel.
Right. So it's Abs Fitness _ Brandon Florida on Instagram. It's Abs Fitness LLC on Facebook.
Abs Fitness Film House on YouTube. And make sure if you guys are not in town, we do online training. Hit us
Love it.
up.
Yep.
Our books are kind of full, but we will make room for you. And we would love to have you online and in person. So if you're local to the area, check us out. We're in Valrico, Brandon area. And if you're, I know you all got online because you're watching us right now, make sure you hit us up and we will train your ass over the internet.
All right, guys. See you next Friday. Every Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m. Operation Hustle. Woo!
Doses.